The sun rose over the Nile like a sheet of molten gold, spilling its light across the ancient city of Alexandria. Merchants opened their stalls, fishermen dragged their nets from the water, and priests walked silently toward the great temples where incense already perfumed the air. Life in Egypt moved with the rhythm of the river, slow and steady, just as it had for thousands of years. Inside the palace walls, a young artisan named Kale adjusted his tools beneath a flickering oil lamp. He wasn't famous, but his hands were steady, and his heart carried a quiet pride. His family had worked with metals for generations, crafting jewelry, bowls, and sacred ornaments for temples and nobles. Still, Kale felt something different calling to him, something beyond ordinary work. One morning, soldiers arrived at his workshop. "Your skills are requested by the royal artisans," one of them said. "Come with us." Kale's hands trembled as he followed them through streets he had walked all his life, now suddenly unfamiliar. The palace gates towered ahead like giants of stone, their surfaces carved with stories of gods and queens. Inside, the air felt heavier, filled with power, secrets, and expectations. He was brought into a long hall where other skilled workers sat in silence. On the far end, a master craftsman stepped forward. His name was Senhotep, a man known for working on royal ceremonial designs. "You are here," Senhotep said, "because your work with gold leaf and mineral powders is exceptional. We are creating something that must outlive us all." Kale swallowed. "What is it, master?" "A ceremonial golden face covering," Senhotep replied. "Not for war, not for decoration alone, but as a symbol. A symbol of immortality, of divine authority, of the belief that the soul must carry light into the afterlife." Kale understood immediately. This wasn't just metalwork, it was myth turned into form. For weeks, he worked alongside others in a hidden chamber. They melted gold under intense heat, mixed it with powdered minerals, and shaped it with tools passed down through generations. Every detail had meaning: the curve of the lips, the width of the eyes, the smoothness of the surface. It wasn't about copying a face. It was about creating a presence. During quiet evenings, Kale would sit outside and look at the stars. The elders often spoke of how the heavens guided life on earth. Gold, his father once told him, is not just a metal. It is captured sunlight. Now Kale finally understood. As the days passed, whispers filled the palace. The piece they were creating was meant to honor a legendary ruler, someone whose name carried power even after death. Not a goddess, not a myth, but a human shaped by destiny. Yet, this story wasn't about her alone. It was about the people whose hands turned vision into reality. Kale noticed small details: how Senhotep always hesitated before the final layer of gold, how the priests murmured prayers before entering the chamber, how silence filled the air every time the golden surface reflected firelight. One night, as the lamps burned low, Senhotep spoke softly. "Do you know why we cover the face in gold?" he asked. Kale shook his head. "Because gold does not decay. It doesn't rust. It doesn't forget," Senhotep whispered. "Just like a memory that must last longer than flesh." Those words stayed with Kale. Months later, when the ceremonial piece was complete, it shimmered like sunrise itself. Not just gold, but meaning layered in every curve, every reflection, every line. It didn't belong to time anymore. It felt like it belonged to eternity. The palace ceremony was quiet but intense. Priests, nobles, and guards stood in silence as incense curled through the air. The object wasn't shown to crowds. It wasn't for entertainment. It was for history. Kale stood far back, unseen, his hands rough, his role unspoken. No one would write his name in stone, no one would sing songs of him. Yet he knew, his touch lived in that gold. Years passed, empires shifted, new rulers rose, buildings fell, storms swallowed cities, names faded from papyrus, but somewhere, beneath layers of time and sand, their creation waited. Not as a symbol of power, but as a reminder of human hands, of human belief, of people who tried to capture eternity using simple tools and silent devotion. And long after Kale's bones became dust, when future generations looked upon the golden surface, they would not see just a face. They would see a story of life 1,900 years ago, a story of how humans tried to turn mortality into forever.